I'm getting an update, corruption related to another department hit by graft, the Kenya Power, and we want to give you that report shortly. Okay, so there's a press conference now happening. Let's take you there.
Who also are performance contracted, who are in different portfolio in the same organization, do have that area, cross-cutting area where two or so officials will probably overlap on certain issue, but of course because of the performance contracted, then everybody has a specific output to have. So that's another major shift in this structure that we want to announce today. And lastly, another list is the area of capacitation of the field stations. We have regional offices. We do recognize that our regional offices may not be as capacitated right now as it should be. We're introducing the feeder-based units where we have all the functions being decentralized, and this is not only us, it's really in line with the system of devolution, so people can have and customers can have their grievances and their issues and their needs addressed at the regional level and at the feeder-based unit level. So this structure is going to get into effect immediately. Of course, some of it is operational, other part of it is strategic, and the management is going to give us a timeline on how we are going to move on to this. We had a senior management meeting earlier in the morning, and we went through all this, and I think we are basically in agreement as a company that we need to start working on this and to roll out this structure immediately, so that the customer base that we provide service to, or the Kenyan public at large, do know that we realize the growth of service acquisition from us is recognized by us. What do I mean? I do mean that now the customer base is about 6.6 million. That nearly, at the rate of an average family of about 6, for example, we serve nearly 40 million Kenyans now. So people have to realize that as they grow, then their company also grows and re-strategizes on how to improve improve their service to them better. So that's why we're here this morning, and I think we're going to give you written statements on this, so you can have the details in there. But basically, this is what I wanted to announce, and thank you for your time. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairman, for the brief remarks for the instruction. I know there will be one or two burning questions. For the purpose of this meeting, please allow us to restrict to this announcement. We still have another engagement in an hour's time. Possibly we can bring other issues after the launch of the substation. So just please raise your hand, your name, media house, and again, let's limit ourselves for the purpose of this announcement.
Good morning, my name is Ken Mashari from Capital FM. Maybe we can get the specifics of Ken Mashari from Capital FM. I want to get the specifics of the structure change. What units are being collapsed, what units are being merged. Because you say there's a new structure.
Well, some would say it's only fair to call this the graft edition of Citizen Extra from one matter to another. Now, this is a Kenya Power. That was the chairperson, Ambassador Engineer Mahbub Mali Mohammed, sort of answering some questions there, although we found him in the middle of answering one particular question, weren't able to actually catch the question. But let me give you some background information in terms of what is ailing Kenya Power at the moment. This briefing has come on the back of revelations that unscrupulous employees colluded to award contracts worth millions of shillings to unregistered companies. Now, many of the tenders were for repair of Kenya Power infrastructure. By Friday, Kenya Power boss Ken Tarus, and I can see him also as part of that briefing, had fired 23 employees linked to companies that had been pre-qualified for the awarding of tenders to circumvent the proper tendering process. Now, as part of the internal audit, some of the information that came out was that certain companies, when asked to produce documentation showing who their technical team is, some of the names of those on the technical team are employees of Kenya Power. if that doesn't speak of conflict of interest, I don't know what does. Some of these companies don't have addresses, don't have websites, and yet these are companies handling deals worth millions of shillings. And so all this coming to light at a time when Kenyans are shocked just really by a lot of information coming out of a lot of public companies such as this one. And so let's listen to a response the chairperson has to another question that's been posed. Let's listen in.
You may want. I just thought it's more efficient to just tell you the generalities of what this entails, then you get the specifics on the paper. MD will probably comment on the update of the layoffs.
Thank you, Chairman. Yes, on the question from Patrick Kunsa, this is an exercise that has been going on. It is not a reaction, like you said, to what's going on in the media. Recall the chairman talked about this exercise having begun before he came on board. And so this was just the tail end of that process. On the issue about the layoffs or the staff who were dismissed, allow me at this point to make a correction. I have seen in your reports talking about 23 employees being dismissed. As a matter of fact, the audit report singled out 19 employees having been involved in the same. Out of the 19, 18 of them were dismissed, and one was found not to be culpable, and therefore was given the benefit of doubt. Again, I will want to make this clarification that this was an investigation on a tender process. It was not an investigation on money that was lost. It was an investigation on the tender process that involved the recruitment of our L&T contractors. I don't know whether that's clear. Thank you.
Yes. Thank you. One more last question.
Probably just a clarification. So, following the investigations of the tender process, sorry, my name is Adam from this time. So I just wanted to find out how many contractors were suspended in the process.
We would not want to really open this up. We still with you guys at the site, and we can feed those questions now. So if you allow us, please.
We can answer that.
Let the MD answer that question. I think that's
My name is Mel Miendo from NTV, and I'd like to just ask this question to you, MD. You've spoken very clearly about the tender process of the audit report, and so I'd like you to clearly put that out. Are you saying that no money was lost? Is that what you're saying? Or are you saying that it was only the process that had an issue? So kindly put that into perspective for us. Thank you.
Ronald Owili, CBC. The first question is regarding contractual employees. How many do you seek to absorb through that mechanism? And then two is on your systems in regards to the inflated power. So I don't know whether the integrity of the system will lead to structural overhaul. Currently,
thank you so much, colleagues. First of all, the issue of staff on contract. This, I think, is aimed at enhancing service delivery and putting people to essentially take charge of their specific TOR. And it's not something that is new to Kenya Power. The world over, that's where corporate governance is moving to. And this is going to affect everybody who works for Kenya Power, whatever level you are in. as long as, of course, you're on a small consultancy or something that comes and goes on a specified period, which, of course, operationally the various general managers will know what kind of work that will be. But basically, it's going to be the system of retainment of employment in Kenya Power will be on performance contracting from now. On the issue of, you talked about inflated bills and issues like those. This has been discussed quite a lot with Kenyans and in the press, and we have been here trying to talk to people, and a lot of explanations have been given. But one thing I know that Kenyans forget, which I found was the most honorable way of dealing with this, is that there has been ads in the papers over a long period of time telling people, if you have been affected, call this number, come to this place, ask this question. And last time I asked management how far we are. There has been an upsurge of people over some time initially when that was on, and then gradually that tapered down, and now we do not have as long lines as we had when this complaint initially came to the fore. So I think we are addressing it, and again we repeat, if there's any person or any group of people or agency who think they have been not treated fairly as far as their bill is concerned, we have a unit that deals with that, and we had these ads in the papers all over. Now I'll ask my colleague, the MD, to probably talk about the process of contracting.
Thank you, Chairman. I think on this issue of contractors, we set out to tender to pre-qualify our labor and transport contractors, basically what we call the L&T contractors. And at the end of the process, we pre-qualified slightly over 500 contractors. And these are the contractors who would help us carry our activities over the next 2 years. And then immediately that exercise was concluded, I received some complaints that some of the contractors were locked out, yet in their view, they thought they met the criteria. That was when we instigated, or I instigated, the internal audit investigations, and the outcome of that report is what I am sure you have seen. From that report, it is clear that slightly over 350 contractors actually got into the list of the pre-qualified contractors, when in actual fact, they never met the criteria. And majority of these are what we are saying have our employees associated with. As an organization, we had signed a code of ethics at the beginning of this year, towards the end of last year, where we all agreed as employees that we can only be employees of Kenya Power. We cannot be employees and at the same time be contractors. So what we were basically doing is implementing our own operational and administrative programs. And so when we discovered that our employees were involved in this, then the most natural thing was to say you are in breach of our policies as within HR, and therefore we have to separate. And like I said, we found 19 employees being part and parcel of this process. When disciplinary process began, out of the 19, 18 were found to be directly involved, and one of them was found not to be involved. Therefore, the 18 have been dismissed, while the one left still remains as our employee. Please, to set the record straight, it is 19 and not 23. Thank you. About Aswara. Yeah, looking at this, you can clearly see it is a procurement process. Once we procure contractors, it is at that point that we now use them internally as part of our capacity to build our lines. But these contractors have not been assigned works because the exercise was completed slightly under 2 months. But if there are some that have been assigned works, then obviously they would be paid for works done. But we are not saying that money was lost in the process of pre-qualifying contractors.
But if you if they've been assigned yet, you found out that they were associated with those employees that you paid off, are you going to terminate those contracts, or will you go ahead and let them complete the work? And also the DPP audit that they do register statements, has that happened, and how are you as a company going to seal those loopholes to ensure it doesn't happen in many other contracts that fall under the government?
Thank you. If there is any that has been assigned works, I am sure we have internal mechanisms on how that will be dealt with. Obviously, on the issue that was raised by the DPP, we are yet to receive communication from the office of the DPP, but this is a welcome move. And in all fairness, you can clearly see that this is happening out of what we had done internally. What is basically going to happen is that exercise will come in to strengthen what we were doing as an organization. So for us, we look at this positively. Thank you.